Where once there had been chatter, the hum of engines, the buzz of neon lights and laughter floating out of open doors, now only silence reigned. Buildings stood like tombstones, crooked and crumbling, their bones exposed by time and fire. Cars sat rusted on the roads, vines crawling over their windshields like nature trying to reclaim what humans had lost. The sky above was an endless canvas of gray, as if the planet itself was mourning. Mira pressed her back against the cold concrete wall of an abandoned pharmacy, her breathing steady but her eyes wild with alertness. She had become something like a ghost, slipping in and out of forgotten corners, scavenging supplies, avoiding the nests, the patrols, the movement. She wasn't sure anymore if she was surviving or just prolonging the inevitable. It had been 713 days since she last saw another human. She kept count, scratched it into the wall of her bunker like a prisoner tallying time. But she wasn't a prisoner. Not really. She was free technically. Free to roam, free to scavenge, free to die whenever the moment came. The Facehuggers hadn't found her yet. She figured it was either luck or some divine punishment, left behind to witness the fall of her kind. The Facehuggers had once needed humans. That's how it began. Parasitic, flesh-bound creatures that latched onto the face, embedded embryos down the throat, and waited. The result: a burst of new life that tore through the chest, giving rise to monsters. Xenomorphs, efficient, deadly, perfect. But something had changed. Mira didn't know when exactly. She only knew that one day, the creatures stopped needing people. They evolved. They adapted. The Earth had become theirs. And yet, they hadn't entirely stopped the hunt. The Facehuggers still roamed in pairs or threes, slithering across rubble, climbing walls, lurking in shadows. She'd seen them, darting like whispers across the edge of her vision. She had always assumed they were looking for hosts. But if they didn't need hosts anymore, then what were they looking for? She shook the thought from her head. Paranoia was just another kind of infection. Her only goal was to survive. Inside the pharmacy, the air was thick with dust. The shelves had been stripped long ago. Bottles lay smashed on the ground, their contents dried or soaked into the floor. Mira stepped carefully, avoiding the glass, her eyes darting across the ruined interior. She found a small stash in a back room, 2 bottles of water, an unopened can of peaches, a box of gauze. Nothing life-saving, but something. Enough to earn another day. As she turned to leave, her breath caught. There, near the entrance, something moved. It was slow, deliberate. Not the skitter of rats or the flutter of wind. Something heavier. She slipped behind the counter, crouching low, holding her breath. A soft hiss filled the air. Facehugger. She could hear its tendrils scraping lightly across the tile, smell the sickly sweet scent of something wrong, like burning plastic mixed with blood. Mira's hand closed around the handle of her knife. Guns made too much noise. Fire was risky, but the blade quiet, intimate. She had learned to be surgical. The hiss drew closer. Then silence. She waited. Seconds stretched into minutes. Then a rustle. From behind. She spun, but nothing was there. Just empty space. Her heart thundered in her chest. It was playing with her. She backed toward the rear exit, eyes flicking to every shadow, every dark corner. She didn't hear the second one until it leaped. Instinct saved her. She dropped, rolled, brought the knife up. The thing flew past her, hit a shelf, clattered to the floor with a shriek. It twisted, recovering instantly, legs splaying wide as it coiled for another jump. Mira didn't wait. She ran. Out the back door, into the alley, across cracked pavement and puddles of stagnant rain. The Facehugger followed, screeching like metal dragged over metal. A second joined the chorus. They didn't need her, but they still wanted her. She ducked through a broken fence, through the shattered window of a laundromat, into the darkness. She pressed herself behind a dryer, tried to still her gasping breath. Why? Why were they still after her? She'd heard the stories before the collapse. Scientists theorizing that the creatures had started experimenting, changing, learning. There had been sightings, mutations that made no sense. A facehugger that ignored humans but attached to a wild dog. A xenomorph that emerged and immediately killed its own kind. A hive that turned on its queen. Then radio silence. Cities fell. Governments vanished. No one left to ask questions. No one left to answer them. Only her. Her breath slowed. The hissing had stopped. She crept out. Nothing. Maybe they'd given up. She slipped into the street again. The silence had returned. But something had changed. She felt it. That night, in her bunker, she sat staring at the flame of a makeshift candle. This flicker danced on the walls, casting long shadows. She ate one peach, drank half a bottle of water, and listened. A sound echoed from the distance. Not a hiss. A voice. She froze. Came again. Garbled. Distorted. But unmistakably human. A radio transmission. She scrambled for her emergency receiver. Something she'd kept powered all these months. Scanning frequencies every night. Never hearing a thing. But now a voice. Sector alive. Need help, anyone. Static swallowed the words. Mira stared at the device, stunned. Someone was alive. She wasn't alone. But if that was true, the facehuggers would know. They'd find them, infect them. Or maybe that was the point. Maybe the bait wasn't for survivors. Maybe it was for her. She weighed her options. She could stay. Hide. Let the message loop until it disappeared again. Or she could go. She chose to go. The voice had mentioned a location, Sector 12, near the old industrial park. A 2-day walk if she moved fast and avoided the nests. She packed lightly. Knife, rations, water, the receiver. She didn't sleep that night. By dawn, she was on the move. The journey was uneventful at first. Streets she had walked before, burned-out neighborhoods, husks of what once was. Occasionally she'd see movement in the distance. A shadow, a flicker. But nothing came close. By the second day, things changed. She found bodies. Not human. Xenomorphs. Ripped apart. Slashed, torn, gutted. She knelt beside one. Its acid blood had burned deep into the pavement, but it had cooled. Old wounds. What could have done this? She didn't have time to wonder. The signal was stronger now, the voice clearer. Safe, repeat, safe. It wasn't far. She arrived just before dusk. Sector 12 was worse than she expected. Half-destroyed warehouses, collapsed towers, craters in the earth. But something was alive here. Lights flickered in the distance. She followed them, found a bunker, metal doors, a camera watching her. She raised her arms. "Please," she whispered. "I heard the transmission. I'm not infected." The door opened. The figure inside was not what she expected. A man, but wrong. His skin was too pale, his eyes too black, movements too smooth. She backed away. "You're human," he said. But it wasn't a question. "Who are you?" she asked. "I was like you," he said. "Before." "Before what?" He smiled. "They changed me." She turned to run. He didn't chase her. He just watched. And then she saw them. Facehuggers. Dozens of them. Waiting. But they didn't move. Didn't pounce. They watched too. The man stepped forward. "You're the last, Mira." Her blood froze. "How do you know my name?" "They know everything about you," he said. "You're the key." "I'm not." she whispered. You are. They don't need humans anymore. But they want something else now. Understanding. Continuation. Not just survival. She shook her head. They want to become. The facehuggers began to move. Not toward her, but toward the man. They crawled up his legs, his arms, wrapped around his head, his chest, not attacking, just merging, absorbing. His body rippled, shifted. He screamed, not in pain, in ecstasy. And then he was gone. Something else stood in his place. Something terrible. Something beautiful. It looked at her with 1,000 eyes. They chose you, it said. She turned and ran into the dark, into the wild, away from that thing. But even as she ran, she knew the truth. She wasn't the last human. She was the first of something new.